Hey, Alabama fans, I'm not ripping you at all. I promise I'm not. But this news makes me feel no better about the program if I'm in your shoes. Alabama coach Kalen DeBoer has retained and promoted assistants Freddie Roach and Robert Gillespie. Gillespie, of course, coached at Tennessee. DeBoer announced Wednesday that Roach, the Crimson Tide's defensive line coach, will serve as associate head coach, which is basically just a way to keep him. A lot of these coaches want those titles because if you're associate head coach or assistant head coach, theoretically it helps you get your next head coaching job. It didn't with Trooper Taylor, and it hadn't a lot of times. I think it's kind of a silly ask, but you got it. And then Gillespie will remain as running backs coach with the added title of assistant head coach. This is just stupid. I mean, this is basically giving somebody a title and more money because you're so desperate because you've lost so many people and you can't hire anybody else to fill their role. They've lost their offensive coordinator, a handful of other guys. This is the saddest good news that Alabama fans could possibly have because it's good news that they're staying. It'd be a lot worse if they were going. But the way I see it, this is terrible, bad news. And I see clearly because of Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Haun. Enjoy life better when you see better. Local vision correction for LASIK, cataract surgery, and regular eye examination. CCTeyes.com. CCTeyes.com. Is this good bad news or bad good news?
I mean, or is it just any news? I mean, this is about. I mean, this is I'm dead serious on this.
By the way, I would like to announce something on the program today. Caleb Calhoun is our assistant head lead co-host in charge of comedic relief. So I gave you a big new title. Do you feel better now?
I'm so honored. I'm so honored. Matter of
So
fact, I remember
Gillespie, who, by the way, I never was wowed by him at Tennessee. Were you?
No, but I thought he got wronged a little bit at Tennessee by Jeremy Pruitt. Jeremy Pruitt basically pretended to tell Robert Gillespie he was going to retain him on the staff so he could keep the 2018 recruiting class together. And then 2 weeks after the signing, he nixed Robert Gillespie like that. And I'm like, that was a low blow move, honestly. So that was a pretty snake move by Jeremy Pruitt. But yeah, I think Robert Gillespie has enough recruiting ties in the South at this point. He's very well connected as a recruiter that I think that's going to be the biggest reason that he could end up working out. Freddie Roach look, I mean, we are talking about potentially a very young Rodney Garner. And,
really?
I mean, I will say that Freddie Roach has shown drive and he's got very good connections and things like that, but they're mostly Alabama, but there is some Louisiana and Mississippi. So it's that whole like Delta area, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, where he does have a lot of ties around there. And so this is about recruiting ties in that region, whereas Robert Gillespie is about recruiting ties in Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. As everybody who's actually from the South knows, there are two deep Souths. One is low country, which is Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, barely Florida. And then one is Delta, which is Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. And so this is to lock off the low country and Delta regions, basically, for recruiting. And I will say that I don't think it's as much news. The associate head coach, you're right. This is it. The one thing you would say is he was clearly worried about losing Freddie Roach because that's why he made that promotion to associate head coach. Quick, but Dave, you probably covered this press conference when Lane Kiffin was first hired and he introduced Ed Orgeron, remember? And he talked about how important it is that Ed Orgeron has the associate head coach's job and like oversold how important Ed Orgeron would be in that role for Tennessee.
Yes, and wouldn't ask the question, is your dad naturally coming? They flew me to Tampa Bay to interview his dad about coming, and his dad they had just gotten knocked out of the playoffs by giving up like 180 yards on the ground. His dad's like, I really don't want to talk about this. I was like, okay, well, I just flew down. So you're going to have to talk about it at some point. And his dad ended up talking about it a little bit. That all-star staff was pretty impressive. Now, it wouldn't have worked out long term. They wouldn't have gotten along. There were some teetotalers who didn't believe in drinking, and there were some other guys who were teetotal party animals. So there was some very distinct personalities. It wouldn't have worked out. But then there's another coaching addition, which I think helps the Vols. I don't think this is a splash hire. Take me to the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Yes, in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, a guy named Bush Hamdan. Not Butch Hamdan. His first name is Bush Hampton, which is typically a last name. He has been hired as the offensive coordinator at Kentucky. To his credit, he was at Boise State for 1 year, and he improved the offense from 54th to 29th in scoring. But I feel like if you're a good offensive coordinator, and this is what I've always said, David, you correct me if I'm wrong. If you're a good offensive coordinator, then if you're at a group of 5 program, you should be having a top 10 offense, right?
Yes. I mean, if you're a good offensive coordinator, I should know who you are.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to sound mean, but Bush Hamdan is a little bit out of left field.
He was Missouri's quarterbacks coach in 2022. So he's an Eli Drinkwitz disciple. He coached receivers and quarterback in 2020 and 2021. He also coached under Chris Peterson at Washington in 2018 and 2019. He was Matt Ryan's quarterbacks coach in 2017, the year after they blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. So it's going to be interesting to see. Put it this way. He's not Liam Coen, who I think is the best possible offensive coordinator Kentucky ever could have had. And I'm with you. I'm not that high on this. I don't know. I don't know what Mark Stoops' thought process is with this hire, particularly when he's got to face, like, let's be honest, Kentucky and Missouri that's borderline an SEC rivalry, and just like who's like, you know what I mean? That at most years that's borderline an SEC rivalry that no one cares about. And so yeah, I think I don't know what the move is with Bush Hamdan. I don't know.
Did you hear one of the things that he asked about Kentucky?
No, what did he ask?
Well, he asked for Kentucky to specifically play when he's introduced Machine Head at the stadium by Bush. Did you know that?
Okay, is that a joke, or are you
It's a joke.
Huh?
Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah, can you imagine that terrible band Bush? Hey, everybody, it's Bush Hamdan. I tell you what, it doesn't. The hire doesn't wow me if I'm a Kentucky fan, right? Doesn't.
Yeah, no, I agree. But this is what Mark Stoops wants. You know this, Dave. Mark Stoops doesn't want headliners on offense running the show. He doesn't like that. And I mean, it's very, in case I don't know if you remember this, Kirby Smart wasn't that different. When he first was at Georgia, remember his first hire was Jim Chaney, and then Jeremy Pruitt hired Jim Chaney away. This was actually, if you remember this was Nick Saban's philosophy over a decade ago, wasn't it? Remember when Nick Saban hired Jim McElwain? He did not like headliners on offense.
No, and see, it's what I like about what Josh Heupel's done. I feel like he's put as much emphasis on recruiting and getting guys like James Pierce. And by the way, we know we just got word of a change in Tennessee staff, so we're going to get to that, but we want to finish up here. When you look at Tennessee and what they've done recruiting wise, they've put every bit the effort into a James Pierce or the Ross kid. His first name's escaping me all of a sudden. The edge rusher is coming in.
Jordan Ross.
Yeah. They put as much effort into those defensive guys as they have the offensive guys. So it's not like that. It's not as if whatsoever you have Josh Heupel just recruiting to his strengths. I mean, you're talking about Pierce, you're talking about Ross, you're talking about potential all SEC players they've gone out and gotten. And we haven't even mentioned Arian Carter, who I think is going to be a superstar. I think Arian Carter, at the end of the day, will be borderline as impactful as Pierce. I think Pierce plays a more impactful position. But I think those two guys are going to be elite players. Out of this whole defensive side of the ball, I think those are the guys likely to be most likely to be elite. I'll throw another one in there after talking to Cooper Mays. Elijah Simmons, if he's healthy, has an opportunity to go from kind of a nobody to top first 2 days.
He can get mean. He's got to get mean.
Some truth to that. There's some truth.
I mean, maybe who could? This is where Fred White would be useful. Get Fred White to call Elijah Simmons' girlfriend or whoever, and just just start ragging on him, since Fred White's the best trash talker ever, right, Dave? And so,
I'm down with that. And I think Kalen's right. Not Caleb, Kalen on the message board. Stoops is content, not as much pressure to win championships, gets paid very well. I think that's true.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I think he's Jerry Green, but he's not as old as when Jerry Green got the Tennessee job. I don't think there's any question that Jerry Green was fine winning 20 games a year, making the NCAA tournament, and really didn't care that much how deep they went. That was a golden parachute job. What's weird to me about Stoops is he's doing it 15 years before Jerry Green did it. That to me is
15 years after, you mean?
No, he's doing it 15 years before in his career.
15 years younger. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That the part is the part that's bizarre to me.
I mean, there are, to be fair, there are lifestyle moves. I mean, this, Dave. Rick Byrd at Belmont never accepted a larger job, and he only would have accepted the Tennessee job. And he openly said, I got a good life here in Nashville, coaching at Belmont. And he didn't really want a bigger job.
Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you got to learn that. I have.